And after a weekend of fantastic esports, including some baths and a weekend full of sport, a Spaniard wins his 9th title on something they call clay. And alongside that, a man from Australia wins his first Grand Prix. We can't quite promise you last lap dramatics here, but it's definitely going to be more fun than a 0-0 draw against Honduras. That's for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a cracking day ahead of us. For StarCraft 2, it's Group A in the round of 16 of WCS Europe Season 2. The two top players in the world who are not Korean go head-to-head in the same group. They also have two other players to go for, fighting through for the two places to go into the last 16, into the last 8, I should say. There are some old faces and there are some new faces in WCS Europe round of 16. And one of those new faces is alongside me right now. Ben, how the devil are you?
I'm really good, Paul. It's really great to be here. Never done this before. Hopefully I can do as well as Rhett and Todd have done, but yeah, it's really good to be here.
We thought we'd, even the stakes up a little bit because there's already 3 Brits on the show, and we thought, maybe we could squeeze a 4th one into the show and, get away with it, because you're mostly American these days.
No, no, not at all. I spent a bit of time there, but no, I'm full-on British.
All right, okay. Well, it's great to have you here. And as we said, we've lost Todd because, unfortunately, Todd did the wrong thing in the round of 32, and he won, which meant he then went through to the round of 16, and we can't use him as a commentator anymore. You'll see him later on this week. We've got all 4 groups, of course, being played out Monday to Thursday. Today, we're going to focus on Group A, which looks like this. 4 fabulous players. Harstem, the king of the Netherlands right now, 19 years of age, the youngest man in the group. Snoot, we all know how good he is from last season, of course, having switched from WCS America. 4GG, the king of the Terrans right now, on a Ligulac, rated #1 in the world in TVT. That's not going to help him out too much today, though. And the last man in the group is the Spaniard, the 20-year-old, a man who's won almost $100,000 without winning a Premier tournament. But the most consistent player in WCS Europe is VortiX. He has, of course, reached the round of 16 for the 5th consecutive time, the only player to do so in WCS Europe. What do you think with your initial thoughts on the group and how it looks? It's a tough group, right?
It's an insanely hard group. Snoot's been doing ever so well recently. IEM qualified, just to say that alone is like, wow, he beat
four Koreans in a row? When was the last time we saw that?
You don't see that. You don't, Snoot's one of the first guys to do that and do it very consistently. For a good few months now, he's been top notch. Then you've got VortiX, that's also a guy that's done very well online. He won the Vasacast Invitational, went on to come 2nd in Fragbite, and they've never really been at a tournament together, never mind met in the group stage.
Same group?
Yeah, first group stage, them going together. Then you've got some underdogs like Harstem, never been in WCS before, so I'm really excited to see how he does. And he's a true preparer, like I spoke to you earlier about how he prepares for matches.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit off camera about how much that man prepares. Let's take a look at the bracket, and we'll show you the 2 matchups. We're going to start with Harstem and VortiX, but let's just talk about the other matchup, 4GG versus Snoot as well, a little bit later on. It's I think every game in this group is going to be awesome because it doesn't really matter who goes through.
Exactly. Well, there's that. You want everybody to go through, but there's going to be lots of hearts broken. You have Harstem, everybody wants him to win. In fact, there's not one player there that you don't want to win. So
one of only 2 Terrans, of course, in the round of 16 for GG. So for us Terrans here at the Terran table,
we're going to have what fun we can have.
We are.
Because, it's a ridiculously hard group as well. Snoot, VortiX, and even Harstem came through a killer Terran group in the previous round. So 4GG's got his work cut out for him, certainly. Okay,
we're going to focus on our first game. As we said earlier on, it's going to be Harstem versus VortiX for the first player in the upper bracket final. Let's start with Harstem, 19 years of age, less than $7,000 prize money in his career so far, despite the fact that he seems to have been around for a long time. It's only really in the last 12 months that he started to show us the kind of quality that we knew he always had.
Yeah, that's the thing. Harstem, when he first started going to tournaments, actually, I didn't realize how young he was, given how tall he is, but you see him at every tournament. He actually has quite a bit of experience under his belt, but never made it to WCS, whether that was just nerves keeping him back or whatever, but tournament experience, he's always been there. And his WCS round of 32 group was very, very hard. He had Yoda and Jack G and Bunny, I believe, some of the best players around. So, yeah, nobody really expected Harstem to go through, but when he did it in spectacular fashion.
2-1, 2-1, top of the table.
Yeah, there wasn't a day that went by when the groups got announced that he wasn't messaging every Terran on Europe, hey, play with me.
It's almost cruel in a way, because he's been rewarded by winning his group with playing VortiX. first.
Yeah, not much of a reward there. Like, this group's insanely hard. Like, Snoot, VortiX, and 40G,
Okay,
they're
let's
all
talk
scary.
very quickly about VortiX as well, because 20-year-old Spaniard has been a model of consistency all the way through the WCS. Last year, we saw him in the round of 16, then the round of 8, then the round of 4, and we were thinking, he's going to go all the way this time. No, he's not. He's actually going to fall again. But round of 16, 5 consecutive seasons. No other player, including MC, has managed to do that in WCS Europe. That's fabulous consistency.
I actually didn't realize VortiX was that consistent, but he's always there, and he doesn't always attend the tournaments such as Home Story Cups, so we always hear about the other guys, but VortiX is always there, and his prize money, the amount that he's won, in the 90,000s, I believe. Like,
yeah,
huge
he's not
winner.
far. He's not far. I mean, if he reaches the round of 4 here, that guarantees him $100,000 prize money in his career.
And for a 20-year-old, that's nothing to scoff at, especially given that he's studying as well.
You may also notice the Matt Vetoes have begun, and you'll also notice a new coloured shirt on the Spaniard as well. He's now playing for Millennium, having signed over the weekend. What do you make of that?
Millennium just lost Baby Knight, which, you know, he moved games, or he's trying out Dota, and they...
He's going to another game.
Yeah.
Let's not mention it.
Okay, let's not. But no, they had a big spot to fill with that. Like, Baby Knight was a really great player. We saw him in WCS quite a bit too. But Millennium, they just started looking really amazing. Like, Daishi doing insanely well too. At Home Story Cup came top 4, I believe. So
4GG obviously in the same group as well. Could end up with a team kill here.
You could, and that wouldn't be cool. Like, say the new Millennium guy,
the
2
guy
days on Millennium.
Yeah, exactly. 2 days ago signed for him, and then team kill. Oh, well, that's bad.
I remember when Stefano first joined EG, and I got in a group with him. I was like, oh man, like he's so freaking good. But yeah, like so the Veto's here, Way Station, that's not getting played again.
Yeah, pretty obvious. Way Station, merry-go-round. Expected probably those to go. Ultizim as well, a little bit too big for these two guys to be playing on.
Yeah, and VortiX doesn't really play Swarm Host all that much from what I've seen, so he definitely doesn't want to be playing.
Most played map so far in round of 32 was Overgrowth LE. It's the first map that we're going to see here. Frosty, second most played map in the round of 32, and that's the second map we're going to see here. I think Habitation was the third. I think King Sejong Station was vetoed, but I might be wrong. So we'll just wait for see. Yeah, so Habitation third map should we need it, and this is going to be an interesting matchup. Not much between them in terms of statistics, of course. We've only seen them play once before. It was a 2-0 victory for VortiX, but I think we have to use recent form as a more reliable guide to what might happen between these two. Do you still think that VortiX starts as the overwhelming favourite, and that we've pigeonholed Harstem as maybe the wild card underdog in this group?
Harstem is the underdog, there's no doubt about it, but Harstem, given how well he prepared for his matches, and I spoke to him just last night actually, like, do you feel good? And he talked about his brother, how he prepares for things too, and he's like helped him out a bit mentally, like a big inspiration for him. So I'm not going to count him out by any means, but VortiX, he's a titan, man.
Yeah, as you can see on your screen, there's a fantastic win-loss record in the WCS matches that he's played, 23-12 right now, and number 31 ranked in the WCS points. Those points are starting to become important as well, Ben. We've seen that MC's tops the chart right now. He's just got over 3,000 points. He's in number 1, and there's not much between them. Snoot is actually 17th right now, so right on the cusp of that top 16. These guys need a really good tournament now, because we're almost at the halfway stage of the season.
Yeah, and if you like start off with a head start, things become easy. You don't have to worry so much, and nerves don't play a big part later on. So you always have to take that into account too. Snoot being 17th, we need a foreigner in the top 16, we really do, and Snoot would be a great representative. But here, if we look at his win ratio, it is really impressive. 11-6 against Protoss overall, and that's against players such as like MC,
these aren't small
San,
players.
Stardust in WCS Europe. It's not easy whatsoever. So the fact that he's smiling too, he's a cheeky, confident player.
No, he likes coming into these tournaments earlier. When we took a photograph of him earlier, I put it on Twitter, and he said, "Why are you guys all taking pictures of me?" And we said, "Because you've got a new shirt." And he was like, "Oh,
it suits him too."
Do you think?
I think
I'm
so.
still getting used to the non-red shirt. We'll switch over to the Fanatics Harstem, formerly, of course, of the Fnatic Academy, now a full-blown member, Kevin de Koning, 19-21 overall in WCS matches. Not the best of stats to be putting on the screen. He's also 0-1 down versus VortiX, but he doesn't care. He's also a cheeky chaffy as well. His versus Zerg, not particularly great of late, but 10-13, still respectable enough. And it'll be interesting to see how he faces off against one of the very best Zergs in the world right now.
And yeah, VortiX, he's an incredibly good Zerg. He's insanely aggressive. The way that he moves his army to attack you, he throws it at you. He really does. But that win ratio 10-13 against Zerg, that was through a period of time where Zerg was like swarm host. Nobody really knew how to deal with it. So we can't really take that and say, oh, that's not so good. Like, he's doing much better now, which is what really counts. He's in WCS. He's doing much better. Year of Harstem, like everybody's rooting for him, and he is the underdog. But
all right, one final question. And I ask this of Todd every time, and he always gives me a really bad answer. So step up, Ben.
I'll try.
Where's this first match going? Which way?
I'm going to say VortiX. 2-1.
Safe bet?
It is a safe bet, but Harstem seems to surprise, you know?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Ben. We're going to take a break from Ben for the moment, and also from the Terran table here over at the Tactics desk. We're now going to go over to our commentary team for our first match. I wonder where they think this one's going. We'll also get the breakdown on the maps as well. Here's Kalaris and Apollo.
All right, series number 1 of the round of 16 is about to begin as we have VortiX and Harstem facing off in a PvZ, and with VortiX here, I couldn't think of any better way to start it.
I mean, VortiX is definitely one of the players to be looking out for in this tournament. But there's Harstem, who, as very well mentioned over on the Terran desk, is that he's the complete underdog of today's group, like he was in the round of 32. But somehow, some way, he was able to escape a group full of Terrans and Korean Terrans as well. That was difficult. This is a very... I wouldn't say more difficult for him, but it's definitely up there as a very, very hard task to achieve.
Yeah, I think more diverse in the end, right? If you only have to focus for one matchup, we saw how good he was at doing that, but now he has a whole lot more to look at. As we get in now to game number 1 of this series between VortiX and Harstem. VortiX looking oh so powerful as of late, but Harstem proving that even though he's an underdog, he can still make the best of it. Let's jump into Overgrowth as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner our red Zerg. Now representing Millennium, it is VortiX. And up to the top right-hand corner our blue Protoss representing Fnatic, it's Harstem.
I have to agree on multiple things with the Muslim. First of all, I agree that Harstem's stats don't quite do him justice in this matchup recently, because he's one of the players for me, Harstem, who understands how to play against the Swarm host style. So that does help him a lot more in recent games against Zerg. And that may help him today if we see that style come out from VortiX again. And the other thing, I have to agree with who wins this match. VortiX. I mean, for me, this guy, to be fair, is looking at number 1 in today's group. Whether that happens or not is a different story, but definitely looking at it.
Yeah, I think for the most part, VortiX is the kind of guy that likes to control the pace of a matchup, but look at what Harstem is already doing. He's already throwing down that Forge and going across the map with this probe to see if maybe a cannon rush is possible. Yeah,
definitely thinking along the lines of maybe we see VortiX open up with a hatchery first here, but it is spawning pool, which means this is going to get pushed back nice and easy. There should be no cannon rush. Sometimes you do see players attempt it anyway, but upon going in, I would just imagine that Harstem is going to look towards taking a faster Nexus here upon seeing the lack of hatchery down.
Yeah, sit around, block for a little bit, and then from there go back home. Just second drone comes down actually to kind of shoo this away. He did see the probe coming over with his Overlord, right? So at least he can prepare for this and try and get this hatchery down a little bit quicker.
So the 3 maps that we're going to be seeing are Overgrowth and Frost. Overgrowth is the most played map so far within WCS, just looking back at the round of 32. Frost was the 2nd most played map.
Yeah.
And then Habitation Station is the 3rd one. And I think that Habitation Station is just in there because it wasn't a map that was vetoed more so than these 2 maps, which are probably the more favored ones to play on, obviously, because of the amount of times they're played. Which means Game 1 and Game 2 are going to be quite standard because they're played so often and are much more developed as maps. But Habitation Station is really where it gets weird if we were to go to Game 3.
Yeah, you're right with that. And you know what's even more interesting about Overgrowth and Frost is that if you look across the entire season of WCS Europe, both Premier and Challenger, both of those maps were played 37 times each. So very, very close in terms of the preference of these guys. But Overgrowth has made its way in very, very vigorously this season.
Yeah, and it's a good all-round map, as you can see just by people playing on it.
Yeah.
But so far, we do have quite standard eyes builds. Harstem looked at potentially cannon rushing, and then backed up and has just taken the expansion, gotten his gateway and tech down, and has fortified himself with a cannon nice and early on to protect his 2 bases. Whereas VortiX, on the other side of things, upon seeing that this was going to be the way that it was going to play out, immediately just takes the 3rd base nice and fast, realizing that there is no potential threat to him at all. There's no reason to be worried. So he can plant down that 3rd hatchery, and the game continues on.
I'm wondering what Harstem's actually going to bring to this overall, because I've not seen as much of his PvZ as we obviously seeing him in the round of 32, always bringing that really phenomenal presence against Terrans. I think he's probably gone into this group preparing for the Zergs a hell of a lot more than he would have against 4GG, for example.
I think the two favored styles recently are fast thirds, which is quite common, or at least going up towards a Stargate first and then getting your tech down faster with a bit of a later third. So those are the two most common styles, depending on what Harstem's feeling like today. The Muslim did mention that Harstem likes to practice a lot. He likes to prepare builds ready for the tournament day.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of things up his sleeve, and we're going to have to try and find out what that is. A Sentry is the first unit to be built here before any add-on of tech. So if he's delaying his tech, that could mean that he's looking to build up a small gateway count first of all, get the Sentry down fast, get a little bit more energy, that he can protect a third base with potentially. It's quite a common build nowadays. There's the probe moving out, so it seems like that is going to be the case here. But VortiX, eyes on straight away.
Yeah, completely on top of the spotting. We'll see that going down. And he'll keep an eye on, see, you know, maybe how many gates go down.
Well, this is really greedy because this is off a single gateway.
Yeah, it's very greedy.
Granted, on the other side of the things, VortiX is playing greedy himself without any gases taken. So VortiX actually can't do anything to this, but is playing greedier himself by not even taking the gases, because they should have already started to come down now. But upon seeing this super fast third from Harstem, he's like, whatever, man. I'll take all three now, coming up close towards the 7-minute mark.
And he's going to have so many drones off the back of it.
He's going to have a lot of drones off the back of it. Both players are playing greedy. Harstem's going to try and get a feel into this game a little bit with this Zealot and Mothership core, but won't really get much info at all.
No. Lots of drones being added on. A few Zerglings sprinkled in here because he did see that Zealot moving across. Wanted to be a little bit comfortable in that.
I have to favor VortiX, though, in this position, just because of the mental approach and who scouted what.
Yeah.
He knows Harstem's being greedy, so Harstem's going to be a bit more on the back foot to protect his greediness. VortiX has all seen this, so he now is in a better position because he has knowledge to play with.
And we have the Roach Warren being added on here for VortiX. Again, this can just be for insurance purposes whilst he techs up a little further. He's throwing down the double evolution chambers now, so won't be surprised if we saw those upgrades started rapidly. VortiX loves to actually... We've seen a lot of him in the past not favoring this upgrade style, so this is a little bit of a deviation into what he did like last season, for example.
I mean, VortiX loves to delay upgrades to make sure he has enough units out to protect himself against attacks. He knows attacks aren't coming, so he's like, whatever, man. I can go double evolution chamber. I can get my layer pretty fast in this game, look towards upgrading himself, and he's sitting pretty on 61 drones currently. Starts his roaches, and if you think about, he's only built 6 odd lings all game, and has droned up to 60, and then is able to build 9 roaches. This is a very comfortable position for VortiX.
Yeah, very, very powerful economy behind this. Just roaches and roaches coming out. This Phoenix would like to see a few popping, but at the same time, it can pretty much envisage that there's going to be a swell of units now seeing he's so comfortably set up across those 3 bays.
Yeah, great overlord spread, just overall good play from VortiX. Harstem, though, is playing a gateway heavy style. There's no massive splash damage tech that's in this game yet. It's Zealot Sentry, adding on the Twilight Council. You'd imagine you start looking at Blink soon and getting some more Stalkers into this composition, because right now there's only force fields and trapping units and then Zealots to deal the damage. He does need additional units to shoot over the force fields and stuff and just kind of bulk up his army a little bit more. So the Immortal gets added on, the Stalkers get added on. He'll need to start +2 in a moment. Overall, Harstem's got to land these force fields right, and he's got to protect the position he's in. That's a lot of units, and if they connect into the Protoss army, then there's not going to be a lot of units for the Protoss.
That's true, that's true. Harstem, though, has a small window where he's trying to amass at this moment because VortiX doesn't really want to push him before speed. Speed's very important here in this. And this initial attack will be coming before even the melee and the carapaces have even finished or anything like that. So, again, this is VortiX saying, I want those units out there before my upgrades kick in, like you were mentioning before.
But overall, Harstem's building up a very strong army for the next couple of minutes, but is actually decreasing his army value for a long, long time here. Stalker Immortal's really good against this type of army. That's what he's looking to build. The more time he has to build this army, the better he becomes, and he actually can start to plan an attack of his own once that +2 finishes. So Harstem's looking okay here. The real problem for him is the Infestation Pit and future tech from this point. But as long as he keeps his defense up, and then is able to look for an attack of his own, There's definitely still hope here for the underdog, for sure.
And most importantly about all that, trying for the run by, but sees it's blocked by a Zealot. Even a second Zealot walked in there as insurance for Harstem, but Harstem wasn't baited out into the open ground, right, during all of that. He knew
sees the
to
army.
stick with it.
Observer's in great position. The Mothership Core is looking on that right ramp. He's got hallucinated Phoenixes all the time. Overall, great game. Pathogen Glance is a problem for him. The Hive is a problem for him. Fungals with combinations of Vipers maybe, or Ultras if you can get up there, very good for VortiX. If he can fungal, then stop the units from attacking with a Blinding Cloud, sick kind of fight he could take. So Harstem, I start to think, is in a better position right now. He's defended his kind of setup. These Lings and Roaches haven't really done anything for VortiX here. I think Harstem's going to start to get a little bit more edgy, and is going to start to move out a little bit more from this position, because that army is going to be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because what we saw from VortiX in the past a lot was very, very mid-game present. That was kind of VortiX's territory, but Harstem's slowly getting over that. He's actually going to get split up a little bit here. Force fields have sectioned off a few of those Roaches, but most of them get through. Has to pull back with a little bit of them, and that wasn't exactly the most ideal engagement there for VortiX.
No, it wasn't. Harstem had eyes on the army and actually took a pretty good fight there, and destroys a lot of what VortiX has, who is trying to rebuild with the same unit, adding in Queens and Infestors, which does buff him up a little bit more. But I'd say Harstem's looking pretty powerful still. Yeah. If he avoids the fungals, doesn't get trapped down, and continues to land the right force fields, which he's built up energy for a long time with, this is a golden opportunity. Ooh.
And that's a nice fungal to catch a few of these Stalkers at the front. Blink is not done just yet, so it's not locking them down to the full extent they would like to be. He doesn't want to be sacrificing Infestors.
Yeah.
Ooh, losing 2 is a big deal there.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. There's more Lings and more Infestors being added on.
VortiX realizes he needs to break down these rocks, reinforcing the natural.
Sentries are running low on energy. Not as many forces as there once were.
Yeah, there is enough to be able to wall off that location for a while, so VortiX is in a bit of a bad spot here. This army has breached a very, very juicy location, and there is energy for recall if he needs it, but he's going to come in from both sides. Yeah, that's a really nice fungal growth to start things off. Tries to chain it as well, and he's actually going to get the Immortal very, very quickly off the back of that. That was a pretty good engagement for VortiX so far.
Good set of force fields there.
And he gets another fungal on those sentries, bringing a lot of those down. It continues to chain it. He gets so much value out of those fungals. Blink's trying to hold on for Harstem, but it's not going to be enough in this situation.
VortiX is able to hold on against the high amount of pressure dealt by Harstem, and he finds himself in the better position now. He's got that key tech I talked about. He didn't die off to where he was potentially at the weakest point in this game. He's got the Ultras Cavern coming in. He can now properly drone up towards that 4th base, maybe. Actually, he's not looking too bad on the drone side of things. But overall, good position for VortiX. That was Harstem's timing. He did hit it, but maybe the fights didn't quite go as well as they could have. And of course, the fungal started to come out, and that was where he really would have liked to have gone before that. So he falls back to a 4th base, and Colossus production +3 attack, and has dropped significantly down in supply. The next fight, when we see Ultralisks, or maybe before that, is going to be very difficult for Harstem to keep that 4th base alive.
Yeah, VortiX army supply is just going to skyrocket now in comparison to Harstem. He's already at 113 to 65, and with that many Infestors, and with the majority of them actually staying alive during that previous fight, it makes them so cost efficient throughout this game.
He's not even going to go for Ultras here. He's like, you know, I'm going to try and take a fight before that, let my upgrades complete a little bit further, then add them on after. But this fight now, it's the swarm. It's a flood. There's a lot of units here.
Yeah, especially if it locks that down, and he could get a full wraparound on that if he really wanted to. Those 2 Colossi are causing him a little bit of problems, but if he landed one fungal alone on them, then it would be dire straits here for Harstem.
Great spread from Harstem.
Tries to land it and does get a really nice lockdown on some of the army on the right-hand side. Drops some Infested Terrors to tank the damage. Here's our first-person view of VortiX now, who's looking to control this. A few force fields are zoning out some of that army, but at the same time, that Colossus dying off to Lings alone. Not good here for our Protoss.
Not good at all. 6 Ultralisks and 16 Zerglings in production to back this up, but it is enough already. And VortiX takes map number 1.
And, you know, for Harstem there, that's got to be a little bit of a downside to this, because that was looking all right for him in the opening stages. You said it yourself, you know, you didn't mind Harstem's position. What do you think could have gone better for him? Was it the engagement that eventually happened? The location? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if he'd hit a couple of seconds earlier before Infestors were properly out in the field, he couldn't get the right fight that he wanted to take because they kept on locking him down on the ramps. On the right side, where the first initial fight was taking place, and on the left side. Then you've got to complement VortiX in himself.
Yeah.
Spine crawls on both high ground ramps, you know, acknowledging the sort of timing that Harstem could hit there. It's just a little bit unfortunate there for Harstem, for sure.
Oh, well, we'll be going on to game number 2 in a second, and similar to our popular Overgrowth map, we next go on to Frost. So again, we can see a very, very standard metagame play come out from these guys. VortiX is the kind of guy, though, that is shying away from that Swarm Host play that we've seen before on this map from a guy in the same group, like Snoop, for example. So from Harstem's side of things, he's got to be very, very careful, once again, about the way VortiX plays.
I think that one thing we can take from that series there, at the start, Harstem played quite greedy. 1 gateway into 3 expansions or 3 bases altogether.
Yeah.
I really think that's something that VortiX will look at in this next series to be like, oh, buddy, try that again and I will walk over you.
Yeah.
Because at the time he saw that, he wasn't in any position to walk over anybody. So he was like, all right, I can't do anything. I'll just drone up and increase my own economy with you. This time around, though, I'd be expecting VortiX to be getting gases earlier anyway, looking at that third base to see if there is an opportunity to get in. But of course, on Frost, the second map here, spawning locations are quite important because depending on where they spawn, really, you know, changes the flow of the game and the pace of it. Cross positions is further away from each other, but if they're in close positions, it also changes a lot.
Yeah, it can be quite the struggle to set up that third base. But now the countdown has begun. We're going to get into game number 2 between Harstem and VortiX. VortiX did pretty well in game number 1, gotta say, despite Harstem's very greedy opener. But now it's a whole different kettle of fish as we get onto Frost. Let's jump into map number 2. VortiX currently leads 1-0 against Harstem. We do have our close positions here on our 4-player map. So, spawning up to the top right-hand corner, we have our red Zerg. Representing Team Millennium, it is VortiX. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss. Representing Fnatic, it's Harstem.
A very tough group today. You know, fan favorites, good players, Europe's finest. It's a very difficult group today to see winners and losers, unfortunately, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So, cross positions here on Frost. If we see a really fast third from Harstem, I think he's in trouble because of the close positions here and the way that I talked about how VortiX is probably thinking coming into this next one. We could see an Immortal push or something along the lines like that. Harstem is not afraid to do that, and he's actually done that a lot in his history as a player too, is these types of pushes. He knows they're close positions now. He's definitely going to block any hatchery first here, so he can actually go Nexus first himself, and then actually get a bit of a nice edge. Nexus first versus Spawn and Pull first is always nice. But I wonder what VortiX is going to be thinking in these positions. I think he's going to be on top of his game, as they say in sports, on his toes all the time, just looking ready to see what's happening at any point. It's going to be important for him.
No, I completely agree. I think that these spawning positions favor him in terms of his more aggressive nature, getting over to that third base, for example. You're right. If Harstem did take liberties in regards to that third base, VortiX is going to be all over him because that's just his style. That's what he likes to be doing. He'd rather be in your face and not defending over back at his base and just feeling comfortable there.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Did see that.
Good job.
All right, so the pylon block comes in to delay the hatchery further and is a little bit greedy on Harstem's side here because I think about if he could have already had a forge being built a little bit earlier would mean that he could get the cannon out a little bit sooner, but he's willing to do this anyway. And a gas actually just gets put down here as well by VortiX, so that is very early. Very early gas coming in here. You'd usually see continued drone production and not even thinking about gas. Fallings are going to push the probe back, and the probe doesn't know about this, so this actually could become a very important part of this game here on Frost, this gas. What is it for? Are we going to see roaches to try and break down the front door? I mean, I can't remember who was it. Maybe it was Sulky and GSL did a roach zergling attack to maybe Zest. I can't remember exactly. It was on merry-go-round. Some of you may remember if you watched the GSL, and it was really successful. And there's the roach warren.
Uh-oh. But one thing's for sure is that if he's trailing that probe and he's keeping eyes at the front, then no other probe can get out. So how can he get scouting information to be able to spot all of this? This is going to be very, very difficult for Harstem to
difficult.
grasp.
He actually has played a faster gateway here, which means his cyber core is much faster, but the cannon was later. which is actually a pretty good setup for Harstem if he's looking to increase his tech here, and does help out a little bit against the wall, what we're going to see, which is going to be like 7, 8 roaches. There may even be slow lings with this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just to break down the cannon. But the most important part of this game is that Harstem has no idea this is coming. No idea. And without that knowledge, depending on what he makes next and how he shapes up his units, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, it's as simple. The roaches, he has the map control, Xel'Naga towers. The probe is being chased all the way home, and VortiX knows that's the only probe out.
Because he's kept good eyes on the front all the while. So this is scary because now the Cybernetics core has only just finished. How many sentries and stalkers can you realistically get out in this time frame? Normally you see extra cannons added on if you spot this earlier to deal with it, but Harstem has none of this information.
I mean, he might just straight out die here. All the chrono boost is into the Nexus. The tech is a Stargate. I mean, there's nothing to create a wall.
And he sees it as well.
He sees the Stargate. A Void Ray is great here, but there's no Mothership Core, there's no Photon Overcharge, there's no Sentry, there's nothing.
And he's gonna
nothingness.
We'll come back to that. The thing is that Harstem will see this as it hits his door. That is horrible. This one cannon, my friend, you've got a lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah, well, it's not going to stop this too easily. Watch this. Walk right in. Front door's open. This is bad. Then. Very bad. Very, very bad news.
Forgot to lock the door, mate. Unfortunately, probes come off the line to be able to deal with this, but the cannon is gone. Any probe deficit from the drones that you already had is going to be made up tenfold, if not already just die here.
I mean, he tries to get out of Void Ray in time. Good force field there, but probes are being hunted. And they're going to die. There's a lot more going to die here. And VortiX is climbing up in his drone count behind this. He's just looking to do as much damage as possible. And if it's critical, it ends the game. If it's not, that's fine because he has a high drone count behind this.
Yeah, he's already taken over in the drone count. More roaches flood in. Even if that Void Ray starts doing work on these roaches, there's still more probes that are going to die unless he dances around brilliantly with them. But 22 have already fallen. That means now it's 30 workers against 21.
I think he'll be able to clean this up, but not without taking significant losses here. The Void Ray charged up will deal with these roaches, but he's lost way too many probes, man. He's down to 20 probes.
And during all of that, his income's been disastrous.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be mining if you're running away from roaches all this time. It's 18 workers against 32 now.
Really, really bad hit there, and he's down to 25 supply. VortiX goes to take his third. He's got Zergling's speed on the way. It's a Void Ray, which is not going to harass majorly on the other side of the map by itself. Where does Harstem go for now? He has to replenish what he's lost, which is chrono boosting to the Nexus, which means he's not chrono boosting into important things like extra units or future tech.
Yeah.
He's stuck on probes, and that's all he can do. And obviously, if you know StarCraft, probes ain't no killers.
No, they ain't.
They ain't no killers, Kalaris.
Those little tasers ain't going to do a whole lot. They're not Void Rays, that's for sure, but this one Void Ray alone isn't going to have the easiest time doing anything because Spores and Queens are already out. He's adding on even more Queens to defend with the already 3 he has available to him. VortiX is on lockdown.
Yeah, he's on lockdown. He's moved Overlords out the way. He's got creep spread pushing towards his third. A good move here from Harstem is to kill that third. Maybe these queens should be, starting to think about going down there just in case that one Overlord, which is the only thing Harstem has, does damage to this. And he is charged up, so this is a cool move. I don't think he can get it, though.
The Queen's going to be able to reinforce quite nicely.
Yeah.
And push that away. So a little bit of a sad eventuality here for Harstem, who runs on home. And he started +1 weapons, so I wonder where he's going to go with this.
VortiX is wondering, too. He's actually sending in an Overlord here to tell him what units he should build to finish him off with.
Yeah.
Depending on what he sees now, may push him up towards Hydralisks if he sees continued Void Ray production, which we do. Or if he didn't and saw that was abandoned and it was just gateway units, he'd probably flood with Ro16. He may still try to do that anyway, because eventually, and it's up to Harstem when this is done, Harstem needs to take a third base. And depending on what units protect that third base, VortiX will just build the correct counter. He sees, well, he goes in then, starts his Hydralisk production anyway. He's going to see the continued Void Ray production too, so it makes perfect sense.
And I think with the economy behind this that VortiX is now set up, it's going to be hard for Harstem to shut down anything that comes his way.
I mean, this is the position you put yourself in if your probes get cut in half. I mean, Harstem either goes for a 2-base attack, which is greeted by Hydralisks and Zerglings, or he goes for a third base, which is greeted by Hydralisks and Zerglings anyway. So you're just in trouble, in big trouble.
Well, he's trying to do what he can with this Void Ray, but even that doesn't get a look in, as it's held nicely at the third base with those queens, and it's going to be a lot of Hydralisks coming out. There's already 5 on the way. He'll be adding and skyrocketing up in that number very, very
so
fast.
So Harstem's made his decision. It's going to be an attack with 6 gateways coming in. He's got +1. He's going to go for it, and they are going to walk into a lot of Zerg units.
Yep.
As you said, the Hydralisk production's going to go off the chart here, and they're pretty good against what Harstem has.
Yep, they are, unless you add on a million sentries and cut them up all day, every day, but even Void Rays can't deal with all of that. Especially with the openness of the areas he's going to have to engage in it over that third base, for example, with the creep spread added on as well. It's a mountain to climb.
And it's funny to think that we almost didn't see VortiX come to the round of 16. He was almost eliminated in the round of 32, remember? He lost his first game against Tefl, which he was meant to win, and then he actually only won 2-1 against Patience. And that looked close as well. So VortiX really had to step it up levels, but this guy is destined towards the deeper stages of this tournament, and he started that well so far today.
What do you think of this angle that Harstem's approaching from? Do you think this is the best bet, considering the third can be so open and creep spread it up?
It's the best bet because it has the element of surprise. That's the #1 part of all this.
Yeah. Well, VortiX, looking, by the looks of things, he doesn't seem too surprised. He's already positioned quite a few of his units over there. Gets a probe as well, and that's going to be the reinforcing pylon for now, but can't position anywhere.
There just simply isn't enough here for Harstem. He kind of separates the army up well to try and deal with it in bite-sized pieces, but at the end of the day...
Oh, even some transfuses on that little chunk on the right-hand side. So really good longevity here by VortiX, just sticking around.
Yeah, he's gonna. He doesn't want to like throw this army away and then not being able to deal with the follow-up. So ideally, you'd wait for every single unit that pops out and go to the hatcheries. There's no reason to fight out in the open, but that's just ultra safe. He is ultra fine.
He is. Army supply daunting here for Harstem. There you go. GG. VortiX takes the series 2-0. Clean sweep. Looks pretty clean to me, actually.
Very, very good start to the day for VortiX, and a great start and debut for his new team, Millennium, as he goes 2-0 versus Harstem, and unfortunately the underdog of the group isn't quite able to tackle one of the favorites in the European scene overall here. And it is a swift 2-0 there.
That was a tough one for Harstem, but there is still room for recovery in this group. Again, once you lose that first series, you still have another opportunity in the WCS system, but with the group how it is, with how stacked it is, it's going to be a tall order.
And remember, I mean, VortiX has played in every single Premier League season, and there's only one time that he didn't get top 16. Just once he didn't get top 16. Every other time was a minimum top 8 quarterfinal finish, and at the moment he's one best of 3 for getting that same result again.
Yep, so strong start for him with his new team, as you mentioned, and this guy on screen, Harstem's going to have to buck up his ideas. He's going to have to play against Snoot or 4GG next.
Snoot or 4GG?
Jeez.
Yeah, right, that's not easy.
No, it is not. So in just a little bit we shall hear from our winner. It is Millennium's VortiX.
Yeah, Kalaris nearly making the same mistake as I did. I was almost going to call you Mouse Sports VortiX. We're going to have to get used to that. Congratulations, straightforward victory. Map 1, talk us through Map 1 and how it went for you.
Actually, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in the game. So at the beginning, I was just playing like a bit reactionary. I saw he made a really fast third, so I started to drone a lot. Then I wanted to make like some kind of aggression, but I saw that he had Immortals already and so many sentries, so I didn't really know what to do. I started to make infestors, and I think he committed too much with his attack. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, second map, left a bit of a hole in the wall at the start, gave you a little bit of an early probe lead. That must have been a bonus, wasn't it?
Yeah, I kind of saw that in the first game. He didn't even check if I had met a third hatchery. So when I saw that his probe was going away, I was like, okay, I'm going to make a gas and I'm just going to do some kind of all-in. And yeah, it worked perfectly. I got like a lot of advantage. So yeah.
Straightforward in the end. You were very ruthless in that game, much better than the round of 32. What was the difference between the two? Because you struggled a little bit in the round of 32. We're not used to seeing you struggle in the round of 32.
Well, I think that the round of 32 group was really hard as well, and I had to play CBC, which is my worst matchup. I guess that's why. And maybe I'm like more focused right now. I finished some of my exams. I have more time to practice and so on. So I guess that's why.
Okay, it's not been very long for Millennium, but you're in the Millennium colours already. What's the switch been like so far?
It's just been 1 day, so I don't really know. I guess it seems great so far. It seems also really good to feel that some teams like Millennium are interested in you. Gives me some confidence.
Okay, and now it means, of course, there could be a potential for a team kill in your group.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because that would mean that at least one of us would go through, so it would be good.
Okay, I mean, if you end up meeting Snoot, though, we've built this a little bit, because you two are now fighting out for the best non-Korean in the world right now. You were ranked #1, he's now ranked #1, and you're both in the same group. You have a fantastic record against him. I don't know whether you're aware, but it's 6-0 in matches right now, so I don't suppose you worry if it's Snoot, do you? Or does your ZVZ worry you that much?
Well, I think Snoot is the best foreigner right now, definitely. So even if I won him, that wouldn't mean much. It's just one matchup. And yeah, I don't feel really confident versus him, even though in the past I did well. Right now, my CVC is just so terrible that I don't really know what to think.
All right, well, best of luck whoever you play, and congratulations on game #1. VortiX is your winner of match #1. Let's find out how he did it with DeMuslim.
Hello guys, so the first match just happened, which was Harstem against VortiX, and VortiX took a pretty convincing 2-0 victory. We're going to get on into the game 1, which was Overgrowth. So this is where Harstem's marching across the map. He has a pretty stocky army, 160 supply against 180. One thing that Harstem did throughout this game was Phoenix Scout. So he actually saw that VortiX was going for a hive, and then he realized, I have to push, because he's doing something with this. So upon moving out across the map, VortiX set up 2 chokes ready with spine crawlers and infestors, which aren't that commonly used, but we'll resume the game and see what happens. So Harstem's marching up, he's getting proxy pylons forward. He's got a pretty strong immortal force, but upon moving up the ramp, bam, 10 stalkers all fungal, so they're all going to die. Chain fungals keep going down, and Harstem tries to keep the army at bay, which he does a pretty good job of with 3 good force fields. Loses a lot of his infestors and army here, which gets caught out just out of position. And Harstem, upon doing all that damage, probably thinks, hey, I'm doing really well here. Kills these rocks in the nick of time, so this army is moving up. He realizes these rocks are dead, and then bam, caught out again with all these infestors, a huge surround, and here Harstem's just losing his army very, very slowly, and this really is the fight of the game. Continuous fungals, all those sentries on the same spot here, and I believe they all die at the same time, which is not what you want to happen, so a greater spread for those sentries would have definitely helped Harstem out, but VortiX just handled this absolutely perfectly. It was great panic control, killed those rocks, got in at the right time. He has 4 base economy after this, gold minerals running, and Harstem, yeah, after this attack failed, he just was not in a good shape. And VortiX, he had a hive, everything was going very well for him. So that was what actually caused Harstem to lose this game, but also VortiX to win it. Really good game by both of them.
Thank you very much, DeMuslim there with the breakdown on our first game of the evening. It is just the first game. We've got 4 more to come. And next up, you won't want to miss it because we have a cracker for you. I just want a quick reminder as well. The social media channels that we use are always open, and you can use those hashtags, #WCS, #Year of Harstem if you really want to. He needs your support right now after losing the first one. But also don't forget, we're also on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter as well. The usual addresses on the bottom of your screen. Next up, it's the Pretender versus the #1 player in the world. Well, at least if you're not Korean anyway. We'll be back after the break.